Good day, Junior Techies. I'm Mrs. Brimacombe. We're going to look now at Budget Activity 5. Activity 5. You are provided with the cash budget of Gate Traders for 3 months ending 31 December 2022. The business is owned by Ann Johnson. The business uses a markup of 100% on cost. Debtors have 30 days to settle their account. So we're going to look now at each one of these questions. In our information, they provided us with the extract from the cash budget for the 3 months ending, so October, November, and December. Here's my expected receipts and expected payments. Take note, they said to us cash sales, 45% of total sales. So if I want to know what is the credit sales, you need to take 100 minus 45. Which means that my credit sales is equal to 55%. These are just things that you need to take note of. Information B, they provided the payment from debtors. Information C, credit purchases. D, salaries. E, the rent income is expected to increase by 8% on 1 November 2022. F, the operating expenses increased by 12% from 1 November 2022, and then they provided information, budgeted and actual figures. So question 5.1, explain why a business needs to prepare a cash budget. This is to plan for future receipts and payments. It's important when we're talking about cash budget that you use the words receipts and payments in order to ensure that the business has enough cash. In question 5.2, we need to complete the debtors collection schedule for November and for December. Now, on the answer booklet, they provided the credit sales for us for August, September, October. November and December is a question mark. It's blank, which means we need to solve it. Payment from debtors. Debtors are expected to pay as follows. 10% settle the accounts in the same month as the credit sale, 50% settle in the month following the transaction month, 38% in the second month following the transaction, and then after that 2% is written off. I'm going to again use this table as my workings to make sure that I get it 100% correct. Now, how do I know what is my credit sales? Because they didn't provide me with the total sales. Remember information A. They said cash sales, 45% of total sales is cash. This means if I want to know what is my credit sales, it means 100 minus 45 equals 55. So the first thing that I want to solve now is for November to find out what is my credit sales. It means we're going to take 180,000 times 55 divided by 45 to get the credit sales. For December, we're going to take 189,000 times 55 divided by 45 to get the credit sales for December. Now we only need to complete for November and December, but if we start now with August, in the same month, 10%, 50% in September, 38% in October, and 2% will be written off as bad debts in November. That 2% does not go into a debtors collection schedule. For September, 10% in the same month, 50% in October, 38% in November, and 2% in December. This means that this will now be my first calculation that I need to do for the debtors collection schedule. From the September credit sales, 38% will be collected in November. So we need to take 258,500 times 38%. And then 2% is written off as bad debts that does not go into a debtors collection schedule. From the October credit sales, 10% will be collected in the same month, 50% in November, and 38% in December. So our first calculation we need to take 275,000 times 50%, and then 275,000 times 38%. In November, 10% in the same month, 50% will be collected in December, which means we're going to take 220,000 times 10% and 220,000 times 50%. For December, we're only going to have 10%, which will be expected to be collected in the same month. Once we've completed all of this, we can total for November, for December, what is our expected receipts. So take note how the cash budget is asked differently than what you've done before. They've provided you with an extract from a cash budget. And now they've asked you to calculate. The first one, the payment to creditors in December. So if we want to find out the payment to creditors in December, we need to look at the credit purchases. And what does it say? A fixed level of trading stock is maintained throughout the year. This means that whatever we've sold, we need to replace to maintain a fixed level. That's why they provided to you a markup percentage, because we need to know what is our cost of sales. And to find out the cost of sales, we need the total sales. All purchases of trading stock are on credit. Creditors are paid in full in the month following the month of purchase to qualify for 2.5% settlement of account. So that 2.5% settlement of account discount received is an income which will not appear in your cash budget. So we need to find out what is the payment to creditors in December. So how much are we going to pay them after the discount? So the first thing that we need is we need to find out what is our total sales. And I've got different options. If I look at November, because remember, we want to find out the payment to creditors in December, and we pay our creditors in the month following the month of the purchase. So this is why if we purchase in November, we're going to pay in December. So I need to look at November sales. My total cash sales was 180,000. If we say 180,000 times 100 divided by 45, we will get our total sales. Alternatively, if you add 180 plus 220, it gives you exactly the same answer. Once we've got our sales, we can use the markup percentage, which was 100%, to find out our cost. So to find out the cost, we need to take the sales times 100 divided by 200. That equals 200,000. All purchases are on credit, which means payment to my supplier will be 200,000 times 97.5%. Remember, 2.5% is discount. So what do we pay our supplier after the discount? The next calculation is the rent for November. If we look at the extract from the cash budget, rent income for October was 9,000. It says the rent income is expected to increase by 8% on the 1st of November 2022. So we need to take 9,000 times 108 divided by 100 to find what is the rent expected to be from the 1st of November. 5.3.3, the percentage increase in salaries and wages in November. So if we look at the extract from the cash budget, salaries and wages, they provided us with the figures for October, November, and for December. But now look at the additional information. It says the employees received an increase from the 1st of November 2022. Some employees will receive their annual bonuses of 90% of their monthly salaries. That's why December is different from November as well. They're not going to get a monthly increase every single month. In December, they're going to get their bonuses as well. So we need to find a percentage increase in salaries in wages in November. This means we need to take the difference between October and November. So 109,200 minus 105,000 divided by 105,000 times 100 means that the employees received a 4% increase. 5.3.4, the operating expenses for October. If we look at the extract from the cash budget, our operating expenses, they provided November and December. We need to calculate, but what was the operating expenses for October? Additional information says that the operating expenses increased by 12% from the 1st of November 2022. So to find out what was our operating expenses before the increase, we need to say times 100 divided by 112. That equals 18,000. Question 5.4. Use the table provided on your answer book to calculate the figures indicated by A to E in the cash budget. So if we look at the cash budget, this is an extract. We're looking at the bottom part where we need to look at what is number A up to number E. Now reminder, to get the cash surplus or deficit, it's your total receipts minus total payments. But now that is left blank. So I don't have the total receipts and I don't have the total payments. So we need to find different ways to solve that. Where do we start? They provided the cash at the end of the month and they provided the cash in the beginning. So if we take the cash at the beginning of the month, we had 60,000 in our bank account. Now we have deficit less an overdraft of 5,000, which means to find out what was the cash surplus or deficit in this case, if we went from a positive to a negative, it means we made a deficit, so we add the two together. You should know when we look at cash budget, your closing balance at the end of this month becomes your opening balance the following month. Now we can take 85,000 minus 5,000 equals 80,000. Again, closing balance at the end of this month becomes the opening balance the following month minus 12,000 plus 80,000 equals 68,000. This is easy but not easy, if that makes sense. Working backwards can sometimes be confusing. Just think about it. We went from having money in our account to having no money in our account. So that means that our total payments that month exceeded our total receipts by so much that we went from a positive to a negative. If I look at the following month, I'm going to recap this. We had a surplus of 85,000. Yes, we started with a deficit, but because we had a surplus of 85,000, we now have a positive bank balance. Then if I look at December, we had a negative 12,000 again, but our cash in the beginning was 80,000. So 80 minus 12,000 or minus 12,000 plus 80,000 means that we now have 68,000 left in our bank account. 5.5, Anne decided to invest money into a 32-day notice account at FNB Bank on 30 October 2022 at an interest rate of 9% interest per annum. How much money did she invest? So if we look at the extract, you would notice fixed deposit, question mark. We want to find out how much money did we invest in October. And then from November, we started to generate an interest on that fixed deposit of 450 per month. So to find out the fixed deposit amount, we're going to take 450 times 100 divided by 9, because the interest rate is 9%, times 12 divided by 1. it means that we've invested 60,000. It is so important that you understand these calculations with regards to fixed deposit and loan. Take note, it can sometimes be that they provide you with the fixed deposit amount, they provide you with the interest, and then you need to calculate the percentage interest rate. So take note of how to solve this. Question 5.6. Refer to the actual figures for September 2022 in Information G. So we need to look at what was well controlled and what was not well controlled. So when we compare actual and budgeted figures, find out what is the difference and what is the percentage difference to get a better understanding of what's happening. If we look at drawings, our budgeted was more than the actual figures. So that is a positive thing. Repairs and maintenance, the budgeted was more than actual. Now some would think repairs and maintenance, but we spent less than what we budgeted. That's a good thing. No, it's not. And that's why I've indicated a negative. Rent income, the budgeted was 9,000 and our actual was 8,000, which is also not a good thing. Consumable stores, it was exactly the same. We budgeted 3,600 and the actual figure was 3,600. So that is not a problem. So if we look at now what was well controlled, the drawings, the owner took less than what was budgeted for. If we want to find out the percentage, we take the difference divided by 27,800, which was the budgeted figure, which means they took 22.7% less. If I'm looking at 27,800 minus 21,500, that is equal to 6,300. Always make sure that you quote the figures. So the reason, this is all possibilities, the owner is considering the impact that this will have on the budget, and that's why they took less. Now what was not well controlled was the repairs and the maintenance. If I look at the difference divided by 5,000 means they spent 36% less. Again, some would think it's a good thing, but it's not a good thing. They spent 1,800 less on the repairs and maintenance that they should. It is not wise to spend less on maintenance and repairs. Repairs must be done for assets to work more efficiently over a longer period of time. Then we've got another option. Remember the question said identify one item well controlled and one item not well controlled. So you could have mentioned the repairs and maintenance or the rent income. The rent income, the percentage is 11.1% less. Again, you take the difference, which is 1,000 divided by 1,000 divided by 9,000 times 100 means 11.1% less. This is poor collection. The tenant is taking advantage. It will affect the cash flow. So it's something that the owner will need to look at. Thank you very much. I do hope that you have a better understanding of budget. Make sure that you understand the difference between cash budget, projected income statement, and see the different ways in which it can be asked. Also, understand how to look at actual and budgeted figures. And sometimes, or don't just look at it on its own, the item on its own. There's a reason why they provide the information. So make sure that you look at it carefully. I want to leave you with this quote: the pain you feel today will be the strength you feel tomorrow. Have a wonderful day.